So welcome to my family gym. So today I'm actually going to do a wee review on one of my possibly oldest main piece of equipment, which is my York 540 fold-away bench. So without further ado, let's go and take a look at the York 540 bench. So this is the York 540 fold-away bench, currently in its folded up state. As you can see, the footprint is really quite small. Now, I actually believe that this is one of the best value, most practical, small space benches you can possibly buy, and I am going to tell you why today. So let's take a look at the main features. Number one is its compact size. Okay, so it folds up into a very small footprint. It is effectively a narrow bench, so it is not an Olympic size width bench. Okay, I will put up the dimensions on the video. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I don't have the tape measure handy, but you will see that this fits a 5-foot bar, which is really important, especially for the situation why I bought this bench. You will know that if you've seen any of my videos, this bench is stored in a very specific place, which is right up in beside my double wardrobe and my door in my bedroom, and this fitted absolutely perfectly into that space. The reason why, there were other benches, but the reason why I went with this is because it is definitely really well built for a fold-away bench, and you'll see that for yourself. Plus, it has a lot of usability, and I just think it's a fantastic bench. But anyway, let's get a look at the main features. I'm going to fold it down so you'll see how quickly this folds down, and then we'll talk about the main features. So, first thing we do, we remove this bar, which is basically stopping the bench. I'll show you from falling forward when it's in its folded up shape. So, we take this bar down. It hinges on these pivots at the bottom here, one on either side. All we do is let the bench fall. Job done. We put the backrest in so the bench is flat. We use these hand wheels, daisy wheels, whatever you want to call them. They screw into this hole just here. And that, when we do this one on the other side, and that is the bench solid and locked into position. So, things I really liked about the bench initially was the uprights. So as you'll see, the uprights on most of these benches are usually 40mm box section steel. Some are 50, but most of them are 45mm. This is 70mm, so you get a lot more beefier uprights. I also like the fact that it's controlled by pins. So to set your height, you've got your pre-drilled holes and you've got your pins now. One little thing I would say is, I would have preferred pass spacing in these holes, but actually for me it works fine. For my wife, she's kind of in between these holes, so we have to do something slightly different when Jillian's using the bench. But again, these are 1-inch bars, and they just slot in there, go straight through the hole, hook it into place, and they're rock solid, and they can take a huge amount of waste. I think it's rated to be about maybe 200 kilos including user weight, but I mean maybe 150, somewhere about there. I could be talking nonsense there. Again, I'll have to get the specs up, but I would trust this to lift a lot more weight than that. Some of the eagle-eyed people might have noticed these. These are an add-on. Okay, I'll actually lift the camera, let you see. So you will see that these catchers are actually from the York 540 bench. So the issue I had with this is when I was squatting out of it. So in other words, when this was at its highest, which is there, okay, so from the floor to there, I'll show you when I step away. So from the floor to this bar, it's quite low. So if you imagine, you squat around the back obviously, but if you imagine the squat bar is here, I'll show you that. Put this one in. So if you imagine that's the height of your squat, it's a little bit low for me. So I'm dipping into that too much. And I found it uncomfortable because I was having to duck so far down. Not so much when I was stepping out with the bar, but when I was re-racking. So when you're tired, okay, my re-rack height is just actually above this bar. So what I did was, contemplated this for a while, this wrecked my brain for ages. Then I ordered these as a spare part for the 530 bench, which is the bench below this. And now I re-rack into these when I'm squatting. And they're probably, with trainers on, they're perfect height. When I squat my bare feet, which is what I prefer to do, they're probably about 10 mil too high. So what I do is I set a wee 25 mil board in there. So I have a board that is 25 mil thick, rubber matting. I set that in there and that gives me the height to drop the bar in. And again, it means as well, when I'm tired, I'm not having to try and find the pins. I'm just stepping in and throwing it up in. That is my only main niggle, is if you're 5'10" and above, these are probably going to be a little bit low for squat out of. But that was my fix, and it was a very easy fix. These weren't expensive. I think it was £14 for both of them, in and around that. So it's a really, really easy fix. Couple of self-tapping screws, job done. Anyway, we shall move the bar out of the way, and let's look at features of this bench. So first things first, let's look at the back setup. So it can do decline. All you do is set this down on the holder and you've got a decline bench, okay? You've got flat, and then you've got two other height adjustments using this bar on the backrest, like so. So that's as high as it can go when you're using the backrest, but it does actually have a wee, what would you call it, a wee trick. So you can use this upright by popping the bar in here, and then here into the back of the seat, just slots in. You then have a hole here, and this pin goes through the hole. Lock it into position, and there you have an upright seat. So you do have a lot of versatility in this. Take that out, and we're back into our flat bar. Very, very simple. Now, let's look slightly further down the bench. I'm going to adjust the camera angle so we can see it. So what we have here now is the bottom side of the bench. So we have our leg extension and the seat pad. Now, the seat pad can be adjusted in height, which I really like, because it helps a lot with leg extensions. You have pin. We have 3 holes of adjustment here, and this can be set flat, probably about a 10-15 degree angle, and then I don't know what the third angle is. But what I find is, when I'm doing my leg extensions, I put it to the full height. It gives me a bit more clearance, so that as I drop in and sit down, I get a little bit more stretch in my legs as I'm raising my leg extensions. And it also means that my feet aren't hitting the footrest at the bottom, so that gives me clearance. And like I say, I actually have ratio body to legs. I'm quite lanky legs, as we would say where I come from, so I've got longer legs. I think I'm a 32-inch leg. So this definitely would work for someone who's on the taller side of 6 foot plus. It's not going to work for someone that's 6'6" as such, but for the majority of people, you're going to get enough movement on this to help you. It's actually very comfortable as well. So the seat pad, rather than having foam rollers, these type of things on here, the seat pad encompasses that, and it's actually very, very comfortable, I find anyway. Another slight adjustment I made to this bench, and I make to pretty much any bench I've had, is I get longer foam rollers, as in this width, and a longer bar, because I find it's more comfortable. The ones that come with the bench are very small. Do I have one here? No. So they're probably 2 inches either side, maybe 3 inches either side shorter than these foam rollers, which means when you're sitting in and setting up, your legs are really tight in to try and stay on the rollers. Whereas this, you just set in, it's much more comfortable. It finds it itself because of the extra width on the rollers. So this is, for me, they're pretty much a necessity for any of these smaller benches you have with a leg extension. Definitely buy longer bar and longer foam rollers because it makes it so much more useful. In general, but the leg extension is actually pretty good. I understand it is a super cheap bench compared to a lot of reviews I see. Some people will think, well, it's not a super cheap bench because depending on where you buy from, it's £199 plus shipping direct from New York. I can't do that. I actually bought this during COVID, so I think in total this cost me about 450 quid because the COVID prices were up through the roof, and then shipping was crazy because nobody wanted to ship to Northern Ireland. I found one company scouring the internet that eventually would do it. And it was a bit of a faff, but we got it done, and I was prepared to pay that for this bench because this bench was absolutely perfect. And to be honest, at that time when I was online and looking at even second-hand stuff, people were looking 200, 300 quid for old rusty benches that were literally falling apart. It was mental. But this was my COVID purchase, and I just couldn't be happier with it. It really got me through a real sticky patch, and I still use it very much so a lot today. So I'm going to do something. You can also do your hamstrings. I generally will set this on selection number 2 for hamstrings, not completely flat, because I find it gives you a little bit of an extra stretch on that. I'll actually put a weight on this. Give me 2 seconds. So what I do is when I'm doing this, I will adjust the back seat slightly because I like to be on a slight decline. So my head will be going down there. I've adjusted the seat to the second pin, so it's not completely flat. Nearly away. It's not completely flat. And so when I step in, this gives me more of a stretch. So my body's at a bit of an angle, my legs come up in, and I've got a bit more of a stretch in my hands, and then I just drop up. Again, I actually find it quite comfortable and very usable. Is it a commercial grade setup? No, it's not. It's not a commercial grade setup, but it certainly is more than usable, and you can definitely get a good workout on it. So you've got the leg extension, you've got the adjustable back, you've got the squat rack, which is also your benching rack, and shoulder press out of it. If I want to do flies, what you will find is, because it is a fixed bench, because of where the uprights are, they tend to get in the way if you want to do flies. Yes, you can squeeze away down the benching. We'll just get this straight. Back to being level. So you can squeeze your bum away down the bench and get your flies, but you're always aware of this, okay? But this is, again, another wee trick that this bench has, which is you don't need to sit on the bench that way. You just, and again, I find this more comfortable. You have the seat raised, okay? You step up in here. This becomes your seat. Drop back in, like so. Your head is raised on the seat pad. Very comfortable, no issues here at all. Bang, you can drop out your flies, you can do your bench, whatever, okay? So, and then obviously when you're squatting, this is my squat position. I'm in here, and you'll see, let me just show you the bar. You'll just see the adjustment and what it looks like. Set the bar up in. So that's my bar, that's the height. I come in underneath, okay? So I come in underneath, stand up, get the squat out, bang bang, drop it in, it's perfect, okay? So, all in all, yes, I've had to make, all in all, I've had to make a couple of adjustments with the bench to make it 100, well, I say 100%. Is any multi-purpose bench going to be 100%? No. You know, you go into your gym, you get all individual machines, even a flat bench just using dumbbells and blah blah blah. It's none of them things. You always make compromises buying a bench that does 20, 30 different things, whatever. Any bench, that, even a fit bench, so flat incline decline bench, there are compromises with it. They're not as strong. They have to be slightly higher than just a standard flat bench because of that adjustment. So there are compromises to be had with versatility. That's what I'm actually looking for. So I think that to get this bench to the situation where I was really happy with it, I was very happy with it when I first got it. And it's probably taken me at least a year to start making these changes when I've had it. So I was able to use it for a year, got a good workout at it, but little things where I thought, oh, actually that would be slightly more comfortable if my leg pads were slightly wider, because I wouldn't have to constantly squeezing my knees in so tight that it becomes a bit uncomfortable. Or when I'm doing my hamstring raises, my feet are going to be sliding off them slightly. So literally just getting a longer 1-inch tube, go through, and longer foam pads. Very little cost. Again, I think it was, the pads were maybe, let's say £20 for the 4 of them, and the extended inch pipe that goes through, they were maybe again about a £5 each. So 30 quid made that leg extension much more usable. This was even cheaper. I think these were like say about £14 for 2 shipped, and then just the cost of them self-tapper screws, which was probably about £4 for that wee box. And they have made it so much more usable, much more comfortable to bench off. For me, I would massively highly recommend this wee bench for confined spaces because it is a really good rock solid bench. Most home users, I say most, not all, but most home users are never going to have weight on this that this can't deal with. Now, when I got this bench, there was an option to get bicep pad, which fits down in the front peg here, and lat pull down, which you can see behind me. I didn't buy them with a package because I was actually able to get them cheaper separately, and I'll give you a quick view of them very quickly. So your bicep pad, pretty standard. You have a pin locking system. You drop this down in. You set the height of your pad with this thing knob here. It screws in the bottom. You have holes in underneath. There we go. Screw that in. Bicep pad is in place. And then we just do our workout. Very simple, standard. Tricep is exactly the same. Oh, sorry. Lat pull down works exactly the same way. So and remember, I was doing this in my bedroom, so the lat pull down slots in that hole, screw it in with a selector pin. There is no height selection on that. That is literally one hole, one height. It just locks it in place. Once that's in place, plate loaded, you pull it up and down in from here. It's, like I say, really, really versatile wee bench. The only thing I would have did when I was doing my lat pull downs is it gives you the option so the height of your bedroom roof might not be tall enough to put your lat pull down in. So this gives you an option where you can take this way adjuster, pull out. Okay. Then you can slide this down forward, creating an angle. This gives you room now to put this in a lower ceiling. Because you're working now, didn't think it was going to do this bit. So because now you're working at this angle, okay, you don't need as much room overhead to put it in. Slot it in, put it upright, screw that back in, and off you go. Reasonably smooth. All I do is make sure that this is clean. A little bit of b540. And the pulley is definitely slightly better, I feel. It's maybe slightly bigger circumference wise, which means you don't have any dead cable up here. And it gives you a really good stretch. It's a pretty good height, and like I say, handy as. So I use that for my lat pull downs, my triceps, even some bicep work, which you will have seen if you've watched a lot of my videos. Like I say, I don't want to ramble on too much. In my opinion, would I buy this bench again 100 times? Yes. Especially if I'm using this in a compact environment, because it's absolutely perfect for it. There's a lot of functionality out of this bench for the money. Like I say, a decent flat bench could cost you 150 quid. A decent fid bench could cost you 350 quid. But you don't get a lot of this stuff with it. Do you make compromises? You 100% make compromises. But the versatility of this wee bench is top floor. I would definitely recommend this if you're a home gym user, just starting out. You want something that's going to stay with you, so it's not a bench that you're going to look to change in 6 months. This, you can easily, go through a journey of 2 or 3 years, and still this bench will be very useful to you, and it is still very useful to me right now. That is why it's in this gym. That is why I have not sold it. I just didn't see any monetary value in maybe selling this for 150 quid when there's so many things that this brings to the gym, and I still use it. You'll see it in my videos. I squat out of it because the height is just on point for me. I just feel very comfortable squatting out of it. I do have another squat rack, which I'll do a review on later. But this is, for me, fantastic value for money, especially if you're living in the UK mainland and you can get this for £199. I would snap it up 100%. So, York 540 fold away bench. If you're rating it out of 10, 10 being absolutely perfect, what would you say, like commercial grade equipment, this is not going to be up there. It's a really solid 6.5 in that scale. And value for money, I would give it a solid 8.5 because it is so versatile, it's compact, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. Anyway guys, this is without a doubt one of my favourite wee items in here because it's been, you know, we've been through a wee bit of a journey. Started my Fit50 project with this bench. I will probably keep this bench until it's fallen apart around me because I'm just a bit of a freak when it comes to stuff like that. It's metal, rubber and plastic, but there's a sentimental value to me because literally it started me on this journey. So this wee bench will probably have, a bit like Trigger's broom, if anyone knows and watches Only Fools and Horses, there'll probably be about 1,000 different bits added to this bench, fixed over the years, and ultimately it'll end up not being the same bench. There'll be that many new parts on it, but yeah, I don't really foresee me moving this bench on anytime soon. Love it, still very much so used by myself, my wife and my two boys, because we have real familiarity now with how the bench works. So yeah, the York 540 bench, highly recommend for £199 at Pasyou. For what are you looking at, other retailers, maybe 300, 350, still worth it, still value for money in my eyes. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this review. I hope it was useful. I hope some of the upgrades I've made to it as well has given you some ideas of how you can even improve this bench for very, very little money and still using official York parts, which is good. One other thing I would say is you can buy lots of spare parts for these benches off York, and I have to give credit to York. I can replace these pads for next to nothing. I think that might be maybe, I don't know, 14, 15 pound. The seat pad is cheaper again, about £9. You know, this leg extension part is only £9. You know, to replace this, £20. To replace the arm card, the preacher card, again it's about £20. You know, these pins, maybe a £5. You know, it's just the daisy wheels. You can buy every single part for this bench from York, and that's a big thing too. The fact that they actually support, they have an aftercare sales team, which you can go and buy spare parts and keep your bench in top shape and keep using it and keep maintaining it, and it's not just a throwaway item. Today, so many things are throwaway items, but I have to take my hat off to York and say fair play, because they do provide a lot of spare parts to keep these benches in circulation. A lot of other companies just go, listen, buy the bench, when it falls apart, come back and buy a new one, and that seems to be their mindset. But no, this bench could easily see 20, 30 years of use, have a lot of spare parts on it, absolutely, but it'll still be the bones of the main bench. The frame is very strong, very well made, and yeah, York 540 for me, one of the best multi-purpose budget benches. And when I say budget, I mean actually budget, not like I don't know, like a lot of these programs you see, specifically YouTube ones. You see a lot of American guys, and their home gyms are better than most commercial grade gyms we have in Northern Ireland. They're insane, and I'm not knocking any of these guys. I actually love them, likes of Coop and all. I think their stuff is fantastic, very entertaining. Love how he goes about it. I love his excitement and enthusiasm about what he's doing. But they're working in a very different budget than what I'm working on. And the way I seen it was, could I have maybe went and got a higher spec sort of, you know, I don't know, maybe like a Mirafit bench or something like that there? Yeah, I could have. And it would have been more along that sort of lines of commercial grade stuff. But did I need to? I didn't need to. This bench is still perfectly usable and in really good condition, still rock solid. So when you're actually working to a real budget, you don't waste money. And you'll notice as well, as you'll see with that bar, it's all standard weights in here. The reason why I use standard weights is because I had standard weights. So I didn't see any point in, taking a hit on them and selling them for basically next to nothing and starting again with all Olympic stuff. It didn't make any sense. For the type of training I'm doing, I don't need it. So anyway, York 540, hell of a bench, fantastic value for money. Shout out to York as well for supplying good after sales care. Couldn't recommend it more. If you've got 200 to 350 quid in your pocket and you're looking to get the most bang for your buck, this has got to be a big shoot, as well as the compact space. There are other options out there, but for me, the spacing, the size of this bench, how small it was, it is generally a bedroom bench. You can absolutely set this up in your bedroom with very little floor space and get a fantastic workout. Anyway guys, that's been my review of the York 540. Hope you've enjoyed it. This is David from Fit50 Project. Peace out.